Oh, we are live.
So I guess while we're waiting for people to fall in, I guess I have to be honest in saying that once I made the full jump over to VR, my channel became stagnant, so to speak, because I would lose a sub that was, that followed me for, for me that when I covered PS5, PS4, I would lose some of those subs, but I would gain a sub on the VR side.
Yeah.
And I've gained quite a few European subs because I used to be on this show called the VR Link, hosted by Gamertag VR. And the exposure on that show got me, quite a few UK subs. So, and that has been a little bit of an issue in the sense that it's kind of tough for me to do a stream at an hour where they're awake because they're 5 hours ahead of us.
That is true. Yeah. People have asked me why do I podcast at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and I'm like, well, that's to bring in everybody can kind of watch. It does. The people on the West Coast, however, they suffer. They're suffering because of there's no way for them to get up at 7 a.m. Sometimes they do. Sometimes King Thrash will pop through or something like that when he maybe on his way to work or or something like that. So, but it's 7 a.m. for them, but it's overseas. It's 3 o'clock,
Right.
or 4 o'clock. So I try to do mine, and I know there's another guy I watch, Marlin Gaming Nation. He usually podcasts around 2 o'clock, and he's got a much bigger following. He'll have 700-800 people watching him. He's a big PlayStation guy. So
yeah,
I take that morning slot, try to get ahead of Sick.
And another situation that I'm dealing with on Saturdays. Oh wow, Render Reality, how you doing?
Right.
I was just about to mention them too because on Saturday they do a show called Coffee and VR. I think at roughly 11 o'clock, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And then they're followed by another podcast called F Reality, hosted by Mike of Virtuality Oasis. And I try to stay out of the way because they're much, much bigger channels than me. And not only that, with the VR community, we all, try to look out for each other because there's no council war over in the VR community. We want big happy family over there. Reality, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but shout out to everybody that's doing the VR. I'm going to get Track IR. That's what I plan on buying next. As far as once I get my PS5 paid off and my monitor paid off, the next thing is Track IR. Then look at TV. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
And naturally, I want to start off with the elephant in the room, and that is the Cyberpunk situation.
Yeah.
This game has been released under some very suspect situations. Not hearing much negativity about the PC release. Some people are even giving the PC release praise, but the console release, I've been hearing that it's almost unplayable.
Yeah.
And this started out, I'm thinking to myself, okay, we got another Fallout 76 situation on our hands. They're going to tell whatever lies they're going to tell and keep spinning this until they can get enough patches out there to make this game playable and hopefully repair their reputation. But this thing is elevated to the point where I'm hearing the phrase class action suit being thrown around. What's your take on this whole situation?
Yeah, it just look, they've come out and apologized. After that, I don't know what else to say. Just and based on the public statements, it does sound like there was some nefarious actions taken, and they're under investigation. It's not a lawsuit yet, and if they determine, I guess the biggest thing is that because it's a publicly traded company, they they may look at them like they tried to manipulate stock prices, and so again, it's just a base investigation. I don't think the group that's investigating them has subpoena power, so they can go in there and ask questions, and you have to volunteer to talk to them. If they determine there's enough information here to go class action on them, they'll, then it'll escalate, and you'll hear about maybe whatever the international thing is getting involved. I don't know if it'd be Securities and Exchange, and I mean, I'm not sure, but whatever entity would have access to this, they'd have subpoena power. And when you start hearing, if you hear that, then they in trouble. The CD Projekt Red's in trouble. But as of right now, it's a base investigation. I never planned on getting the game. The game's called Cyberpunk. I've been saying that for like a year and a half. How can you buy something that calls itself a Cyberpunk? But yeah, I've heard the PC. And shout out to everybody that's playing it on PC. They're raving about it. So, but yeah, the consoles. Had they just come out and said something like, "We're not going to put this on the PS4 and the Xbox One. We're going to put this on PC and PS5 and the newer consoles, and that's all we're going to do." We're not. And had they done that and then delayed the game on console for maybe 90 days, still release it on PC, because with PC communities, I think 60% of the PC community is what pre-ordered it. Had they done that, they would have been okay. People would have been upset, but they would have taken a delay. Like, yeah, that's fine, delay it, and so that you can do what you need to do. But they didn't do that for whatever reason. So yeah, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. They could be in some major trouble. They've done major damage to their brand, and I think what's going to end up happening, they've lost dev status, favorable dev status with Sony. They pulled their game off their off their window after you can't buy their game, digitally. I think if you buy it physically, it'll still work. It's not like it won't work, but they lost that. So I don't know. CD Projekt Red, it's pulled indefinitely. It may come back tonight. For all I know, they may announce tonight it's back. They may announce on Christmas Day, or they may never announce it is back. I mean, it's going to be one of those three things. That's the only way it can go as far as Sony's concerned.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was going to ask. First, I'll talk about the delay situation. I totally agree with you that they should have delayed it, especially with the majority of the orders being on PC. I think they could have delayed it on the consoles, and I think the community would have accepted it. Yeah. However, the flat screen, the console community is different from the VR community.
True.
The VR community, you can delay the game as many times as you need to, and we won't get mad, because we want the best possible game out there. We want the most immersive game out there possible. And if they release a game that's broken, in the VR community, they almost can't recover from it because it's so niche and the community is very small compared to flat screens. But as far as the game being taken off the PlayStation Store, have they taken this situation down the road where there's no coming back from? Have they burned a bridge with Sony and it just can't be repaired?
No. It's all they have to. What will happen is they will submit the changes to Sony, and then Sony will test them themselves. And if it works, the game will go right back up there. But they're gonna, again, they've lost $1 billion. The company has contracted $1 billion. So what would happen is Sony would put that game up there and probably only charge $29.99 or $39 for it. And Microsoft, they'll put it in the Game Pass. I think that's the only way for them to rebuild trust. Is Microsoft will just say, look, this game will go in the Game Pass, and they can fix it from there. And if you want to purchase it, fine. But Sony could do something similar. They could say, well, you can put it in PS now, and we'll charge $39.99 for it. And if you don't want it, you can just play it for free. It's just somebody's got to teach them a lesson not to put broken stuff out like that. So, and that game was unplayable. You brought up Fallout 76. Again, Fallout 76 was playable. You could play it. The Master Chief Collection was playable. Not that it didn't have bugs, but this game is just, it has game-breaking bugs. And that's when they go through that cert process, and shout out to Optimus Code, because like he said, they lied. They said they would have it fixed on a day one patch, and they didn't do it. So, and it is what it is. Unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Absolutely. I want to take a moment to respond to Render Reality. They haven't played Cyberpunk 77 yet. They thought about trying it on Vorpex. Vorpex is a program that allows you to play flat screen games in VR. And that's been a hot topic amongst the VR community, is playing Cyberpunk in VR, to the point that I've been curious about it. But I think I'll wait until this whole thing gets ironed out. Even though I'm not hearing a lot of bad things about the PC side of it, I still want to wait this thing out a little bit. I guess I'm kind of hoping that some of the backlash that they're facing on the console side could affect prices across the board.
Yeah, as far as the game or the actual console you're talking about?
The game. Now, as far as coming back to what you were saying about restoring your faith with the community by maybe on the Microsoft side putting this game in Game Pass.
Yeah.
Putting it bluntly, wouldn't that piss off the people who had already paid $60 for the game to put it in Game Pass?
No, because you can get your money back. You can get your money back. So it's like Microsoft, they took a half step. They're like, well, we'll refund you full, but we're not going to pull the game down. And to me, the game should be in Game Pass because it's not done. Game Pass is full of games that's not done. So, and that's what they want. I mean, Microsoft wants to put half-ass games in the Game Pass, and you just pay the subscription fee. And again, this is why you don't hear as much complaining from them, from their fanboys, because it's like, well, they're used to half-ass games. So, put that game in the Game Pass. Again, if you're Sony, you could put it into PS Now. You could do the same thing and maybe give, and I would do a PS Now thing. Of course, Sony won't do this. They could do a PS Now trial, give you, like you would have a game, you can play it, like EA Access gives you the trial, 10 hours or 8 hours. Just do that with Cyberpunk. Say, okay, we'll give you a 10-hour trial, and anything after 10 hours, it's going to be $39.99. That way, Sony's happy, and then CD Projekt Red is happy, and the fans are happy. And Microsoft, they can just flat say, we're going to put it in Game Pass. Okay. But again, to me, CD Projekt Red, the only way it's going to change is if Sony could do something like that, which to me makes the most sense. It's just, hey, we're going to do this. And you put it into, like I said, you just put it into PS Now and you do a time trial with it, 10 hours, 8 hours. And if you like it and there's no crashes, you get to a point where it says you've reached the end of your time trial. You must now pay $39. And it prompts you, like with EA, prompts you to the window to purchase the game. It'll just prompt you to the digital store to buy the game. Or you can go buy the game physically and it will just start from there. They can do that. Or you can start over again. That's however you want to do it. So I think they would give the consumers, that would give the consumers a little more confidence because, again, it's like you can say, I played it for 10 hours. I didn't like it. It was free. And if you put it in the Game Pass, they would just, and everybody's paying $10. Okay. So, for PS Now and or for Game Pass. So, to me, that works the best, and it teaches CD Projekt Red a lesson. Now, that's if they don't get hit with a class action lawsuit, because if they do that, Microsoft won't have a choice. They will drop them from their store. They'll have to, because they're under an indictment at that point. So.
Okay. That being said, we know that Sony usually implements some pretty stringent procedures before they let something get onto the PlayStation Store. But there's no question we've had several situations where games have released broken. We've had No Man's Sky, Fallout 76. We've had Drive Club. And now with this situation, with the Cyberpunk 77 situation, do you think Sony will tighten the screws even more moving forward for developers to make sure that this game functions as as it's supposed to before it gets put on the PlayStation Store?
Well, again, they stripped them of their preferred developer status, so that's pretty much all they can do. Of course, they can break it because it pretty much is. We have a platform, and you have something that will run on that platform. The deal is that you want to make money, and we want to make money. So if we all want to make money, you're going to put the best version out that you can. So Sony gives you access to their platform. And CD Projekt Red, Sony knew about these bugs, but they also were under the impression that the developer was going to fix it with a day one patch. So Sony said, sure, put the game out because you're going to fix it day one. And again, CD Projekt Red did not do that. So they did lie. And, that's why they came out and they've apologized. And you have influencers, what do they call them? The chair gang. All these people went out and got cyberpunk chairs because they were in the game or they ginned the game up. They've apologized. This Flat came out and apologized, so it's a broken game. You brought up No Man's Sky. I played No Man's Sky. I mean, I put the disc in the PS4 and played. So the game wasn't broken. And the Hello Games did say they were going to be adding to the game as it goes along. And now my understanding is the game is pretty damn good. That's what I've heard. I mean, I've heard everybody say, yeah, it's got a VR mode. You can do co-opting now. I mean, it does. You can do all kind of things. So, it has ground offensives now, and it has, still has the space battles. So I can't say it's a popular game, but it's exactly what they said it was going to be. Now, Sony got behind that game because they needed a game on their PS4. And that game, again, there were no load times. When you left the planet, if you played No Man's Sky, if you left the planet, there was no loading. You just went straight into space, and people were like, wow. So it's but again, this game is broken. Like you will be playing and your system will just brick. It is shut down. And neither Sony nor Microsoft wants that. But Microsoft, because they have a deal with them, they're not going to pull it off their store. They're just kind of like, we'll give you a refund because this is not right. They shouldn't have done this. Pretty much what they're saying. So
all right, I get it. Okay, let's switch gears, and I see you got the bag back there. That beautiful,
yeah.
PS5. So, how's that PS5 working for you? And do you have plans to get in a Series X somewhere down the road?
It's a really good system. I'm still learning to use it. I only play for about 2 to 2.5 hours when I do play. So I don't spend a ton of time on it, but it's a nice system. It has kind of if you had a PS2, the music that's playing in the UI room, that's pretty much the same music. It's a little different. It's kind of like a remix, but very fast. You have no time to get upset if your character dies because as soon as you get upset, the game is loaded up right back up again. I have a PS4 game sitting over there and a PS5 game. So what it does do is if you put in a PS4 disc and it has an upgrade, it'll ask you, do you want to download the upgrade? But you still have to download like the PS4 version of it. Then you can put the PS5 version on. So but yeah, that got Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's the only 2 games I have that are PS5 games is Valhalla, and I got that because it was on sale. And then Spider-Man Miles Morales, with the original Spider-Man on there, so it's got all those modes. So I have 3 PS5 games going into 2021. But I do want to get what's the name of that other one Ubisoft game? Watch Dogs 3, because I've heard good things about it. So, but yeah, nice system. And a Series X, possibly if they, in 2 years. I agree with what was it something Alston? What's his name? Isaac Alston, whatever that kid's name was. It's just like there's no reason to get one.
Oh, you the Austin kid that cracked open the
yeah, something like that. I mean, he flat said, yeah, there's really no reason to get one until they come out with games for it. So
I was really surprised that he said that because I felt like Microsoft appointed him to crack open that Series X because they couldn't have Digital Foundry do it at the time because Digital Foundry was under a lot of heat, of being accused of being on Microsoft's payroll, so to speak, to say good things about their console. So they've been exposed more than once. So that I felt like they had to get somebody else to crack this thing open.
Yeah. Well, and again, what was exposed with them was that the devs send dev notes to them and they want them to look for certain things. That's how they know to look for certain things. They'll look at this, they'll look at that, and they'll zoom in. That's how they know. So King Thrash really exposed that. Shout out to King Thrash because they had to respond to what Thrash said. And they did say they get dev notes and they just look at what the devs brought in. So, and there's that's but he has said that as a Colin. I hope I'm saying his name right, Colin Moriarty. He said that, and I mean, one thing I was going to get a Series X for was just to play Mass Effect, and because allegedly the rumor is that Microsoft is going to allow mods. So there's a whole lot done with
that could change the game right there.
Yeah,
allowing mods.
Mm-hmm. So that's a rumor, though. That may not be true. So, but if true, that means there'll be more missions with the Microsoft version of that game. And because I've played Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 on PC, modded. It had to be I didn't mod it. Somebody modded it for me. Shout out to the PC community. I had no idea how to mod stuff. I think I've modded one game and it was on accident. But I had a 60 FPS mode. I had a high, whatever it was, high graphics setting, and I was actually in ultra graphics and had better sound, and and it sounds like that's what everybody's going to get. But I had different skins. I had different, which it comes with that. But I had like 8 different skins for the characters, which the new mods, you can have the Cerberus skins from Mass Effect 2 and 3, that's a mod. That does not come with your game. There's a mission, because people were like, well, how come they never connected the Andromeda initiative to the original 3? There's actually a mission on there now. It's a mod that allows that to happen. So, so if Microsoft does that, allows the mods on, how are we getting that game on an Xbox, whether it's the One S or One X? But as of everybody knows, they're both very difficult to get right now. Everybody knows.
Yeah, definitely. So what would that's a good segue into the next question. But before I go into the next question, mods on the Series X would be huge because anybody that games on PC knows how big mods are. And that's one of the reasons people will tell you to get a PC over consoles. Because you're only restricted to that platform when you're on a console, whereas PC is a little more wide open. So there's some VR games out there, Pavlov, for instance, that allows mods, and that is one of the things that keeps the game fresh and keeps the game huge. So going into our next question, speaking of how hard these consoles are to get, we do know that the scalpers are one of the biggest reasons why these consoles are hard to get, coupled with demand.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that Sony is looking to combat that by producing a mass amount of consoles. Mm-hmm. That being said, we know that the scalpers are on the clock because it's only a matter of time before there's a situation where you can just walk into a store and get a PS5 or get an Xbox Series X. That being said, how much time do you think the scalpers have?
Till February. Because again, the reason why people they don't want to have a mob at the store. I mean, it happened at Walmart. I don't know if that Walmart was in the United States or in Canada. There was a fight at a Walmart. Somebody got laid out in a heap. So they're trying to prevent that. With that said, they're doing everything they can. GameStop around the corner from me literally put out that they only had, this was Black Friday, they had 4 PlayStation 5s, and they had no Series X's and 3 Series S's. So that's a grand total of 5 or 6. But there were still 25 people outside. And it's kind of like, well, because I went to Best Buy. I mean, Black Friday, for some reason, it was like 68 degrees at 5:45 in the morning, and Best Buy opened up at 5 a.m. I was there at 6:15. So, so I had to walk. I went past GameStop, and so that's part of the problem is that it's like the people don't want to believe that's all they have in there. So there's actual videos of people saying that the employees are lying and they're holding the consoles and there's more in there, and it's really they're standing outside like a bunch of idiots thinking they're going to will it to happen. It's like, no, they only have a certain amount, So it's unfortunate, and some people got lucky. Some people went to Kohl's and was able to get one. Costco, they had some, but you have to be a member. Sam's Club had some, you had to be a member. These are actual things you could walk in and get them. Kohl's, you just walked in there and say, hey, you have a PS5? Yeah, they got it. And they people walked in and got one. So now, shout out to Phantom Sherrod. He said Target had a drop this morning at 5 a.m.
Yeah, I saw that. A couple of things. I originally did not plan to get a PS5 until 2022 when the PlayStation VR 2 is expected to come out. But I had a little bit of a change of heart because shout out to J-Dub. I saw his Madden video yesterday, and man, does that game look good, even though I don't necessarily care for EA. So, wow.
J-Dub's TV. J-Dub's got one of the shout out to J-Dub. He's got one of those. I don't know if he's playing on his 8K TV, but he has an 8K TV.
Yeah, I've been keeping up with that. And so it makes me want to really play MLB The Show on the PS5.
Yeah.
So
that will be out in 3 more months.
Yeah, I think that might end up being the best looking sports title on console, because Madden has been a good looking game for years. I'm not going to lie, but I think I think MLB The Show has been the better looking game, and I think the character models of the fans and stuff is a little bit better than Madden. So I'm beginning to change my stance on when I'm going to get a PS5, especially with it being revealed that people could start receiving stimulus checks as early as next week. There's no shame in my game that I'm admitting that assuming I get a stimulus check, I will either buy a PS5 with it, or I will look to either get a 3070 or a 3080, because I do have a roadmap.
Those are hard to get to. The scalpers got to them.
Yeah, they everywhere.
Yeah.
And even with
I wanted a 3070. I was going to get a 3070, but I didn't. I'm like, well, I'll just, because I think a 3070 is only like $499. I think, so I'll get that. And like $499, but now it looks like because of Trump bucks, and that's what we call it down here. If that does happen, let me make this clear. I'll be just paying off my monitor and paying off my PS5. Shout out to a sub of mine, Ember17. He bought 2 PS5s, and just on a whim, he was in the Discord, and I said, hey, you wouldn't mind selling me one, would you? You can, I'll pay extra. Not too bad. He was like, nah, sure, I'll send it to you. And that's what he did. So so I got very lucky. And the reason why I don't take a ton of screenshots with it, I've taken some, is because I know most people don't have it. There's only like 3.4 million of us on Earth that have one. So, or that have been sold. Because you write scalpers, they may have 5,000 for all I know. But so I didn't want to just so I play a little bit. I'll take a few pictures because it's harder to take pictures on there. And I know it's voice activated because there's been people showing you, oh, yeah, you just do it by voice, but I don't want mine to be voice activated because I already have a Amazon device here that's voice activated. So I don't want them talking to each other who know they'll plan something. But no, I think February you'll be able to walk in because there's a company out of Canada called MGB or MDG. It's something like an MDG, and they are a rental company, and they're already sending out junkets that they're going to have bundles next month. So if they're able to get bundles out, it's just a matter of weeks before you can walk into the store and get one. So I say you'll be able to get an Xbox first. I think Xbox probably by mid-January you'll just be able to walk into a store and get one.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think with the scalpers, I agree with you that they have till February, but I think the real countdown starts after Christmas.
Yeah, because a lot of people are. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of sad people that cannot get one. I mean, whether you want an Xbox or a PlayStation. A friend of mine got an Xbox One S because he can't find a PlayStation. He was able to get an Xbox One S, and he's like, "Well, this is fine. I'll play it for 90 days, and then I'll just trade it in on a PS5." I'm like, "Yeah, that actually makes sense." So that's what a lot of people are going to be doing, and it does suck. I mean, it sucks, trying to get one. So it's unfortunate too. So.
I got to give a shout out to Dawn in the chat. How are you, Dawn? Ice Queen Gaming.
Oh, how you doing, Ice Queen? How you doing?
Appreciate you dropping by. Also give a shout out to Ham and Fatal Charade. The Render Reality still sticking around. Appreciate it. So I guess the 3080 situation, the situation with the cars, even with the surprise drop that they did of the 3060 Ti, which sells for $400, and that's supposed to equal the performance of a 2080 Ti or maybe a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Even with the surprise drop on that, the scalper still got it.
Yeah, it's they something else. I don't know how they're doing it, but
they dropped it while I was at work. I mean, like I kind of, if I'm going to upgrade my PC, I'm looking at a 3070. I have an Alienware Aurora R8, and if I upgrade that PC, I think I'm going to have to go with the 3070 because I don't know if a 3080 will be compatible with the PC. I'm also considering building a PC from the ground up, and if I go that route, then I'll go with the 3080, and I'll wait however long it takes. But now that we're on the subject on PC, you just recently built a new PC or had one built?
Well, I had it upgraded. So I shout out to the community. Somebody donated a 580. And that's what I've been running. And it just got to a point where it could not run it could, all the old stuff that came out, I guess before 2011 or something like that, or 2012, whatever, something like that. It could run nose balls to the wall. Even VR, it could run VR. But it got to a point where it could not do what I wanted it to do. So I got a 5600 XT. And a 2600X. So that keeps me in it for about another 20 months, give or take the way. Because with these new cars that came out, that pushed everything down, down a step.
So what you have in that PC translated to Intel and NVIDIA, what are those the equivalent to?
For NVIDIA, it would be a 2060 card, and I want to say for Intel, it would be close to like the lower, maybe an i7, the lower tier i7, in between the high i5 and the lower i7. But because it's AMD, the products, they everything works automatically. Like I don't have to go in and overclock because it overclocks itself if it needs more. And it is so my CPU I think runs at like I can't remember if it's 3.7 or 3.8. It is something weird, but then it overclocks if it needs to. And the 5600X, the Sapphire that I have, it actually did outperform the NVIDIA 2060 card in a lot of games. It either outperformed it or was right there with it, and it was cheaper. So it was like $180 cheaper, $200 cheaper. So, and what AMD does, what Lisa Su is doing is she's trying to give people the same type, almost the same performance, not exactly the same, but almost the same performance at a cheaper price. So that's when all these people were running their mouths saying about RDNA 1 and what it can and cannot do. I'm like, guys, I got an RDNA 1 card. That's what my card is. I know what it can do because I before I bought it, I did all the homework on it. Should I get the 5600 XT? Should I get the 5700? And it's kind of like, no, I don't need the 5700. I'll just get a 2070 when it's time for that. So, and that's hard to find too. I'm thinking, well, the 2070 should be easy to find. Nope, you can't find those either. So yeah, it's just been really tough. But Intel and NVIDIA stuff is better, but you're gonna pay for it. You're gonna pay an extra probably $600, but you got to pay the cost of you the boss. I understand that. So
yeah, and I guess I'm prepared to pay that because I currently, I'm working with a RTX 2070, and I had upgraded to an i7 9700K. But I've seen a few things, seen a few videos, and I want higher quality videos, especially with my racing streams. So again, I'm planning on whichever card I go with. I'm planning on upgrading to an i9. I think it's a 10900K top of the line. So I know that's going to cost me a pretty penny there. And I'm also planning on buying a second gaming PC to use as a second PC for a 2-stream PC, which is what I've been doing lately. This PC that I'm sitting at right now basically has it's the equivalent of an office PC.
Yeah.
The only thing I think it separates it from most of them is that it has 12 gigs of RAM standard. But surprisingly, my streams have been a little bit smoother. They've been looking smoother. The image, the clarity isn't there. But in any case, I'm going off the tracks a little bit. But that's kind of my plan for 2020 is upgrade my PC or build another one and have a second PC to get better looking streams. So my next question for you is being that you upgraded your PC and your PS5, talk about the differences between them.
Oh, well, they both have. Well, I mean, the PS5, it's just I'm a console guy. Sony outdid themselves. I mean, I compare that to the PS4 and PS4 Pro. It runs circles around them, but you do have to wait for the developers to upgrade their games. Like Insomniac did that thing for Spider-Man. Sucker Punch did their 60 FPS mode for Ghost of Tsushima. And, it's I think Days Gone has a 60 FPS mode. And apparently that's the game that everybody says to go back in and play is Days Gone because you were having, I played and beat Days Gone. I thought the game was good. I gave it a solid 7, but the frame rate drops were bad, especially when you were up against those hordes. So now the report is that that doesn't happen, so you get a smooth, buttery 60. So what is the difference? The console gamers are at a point now, at least on the PlayStation, where you're getting 60 FPS in high to ultra graphic settings. And that's according to Digital Foundry. They said one of the differences that I told people was going to happen was that the Xbox would be closer to the 2060. So it was going to run stuff at 60 FPS, but it was also going to be in lower graphic settings. And that's exactly what we got. Okay. Whereas the PlayStation can run at 60 FPS and be at high to ultra settings. So that's right now. Now that's when you got all the people saying, well, it's the tools. It's kind of like whatever. It's not the tools. It's you all. There's a bottleneck in that Series X. Bottom line, they have a static clock. So no matter what happens on that screen, it's going to constantly be running the same speed. The PlayStation doesn't do that. It has a variable clock. So if it's struggling and if it's struggling with the CPU, the GPU will actually give budget to the CPU. That's why you're seeing the difference in the games. And also the developers are streaming in assets, taking stress off of the GPU and CPU. They can do it on the Xbox. They just can't do it as much. So once again, and shout out to Moore's Law is dead, and he's right. Once developers start streaming in their data, the PlayStation is going to have a huge advantage over the Xbox. It just is. So, but that's the main difference that I see is like, oh, it has a performance mode. It has ray tracing on there, which is odd to see on a console, but it is what it is. So, because my PC does not do any kind of, it does, it'll do software ray tracing, but they're doing hardware-based ray tracing at 60 frames per second, but they are sacrificing resolution, which is fine because they've upped the graphics. So, I don't care that the game is like I game at 1440p. That's what I game at. So 1080p, 1440p. So I already understand, Spider-Man Miles Morales has a 1440p, 60 FPS ray tracing mode with HDR. That's unbelievable that they could pack that in. The same with Gears of War, the new Gears of War DLC on the Series X. I mean, that has ray tracing. That's at 60 frames locked, HDR, and everybody that loves Gears is like, man, this is a great game. So it's a DLC, but nevertheless, it's still working. So that's what you're getting. The consoles right now are ahead. Like my PS5 is in theory more powerful than my PC, based in theory. So, but I'm sure if I put, what's the name of that game over there? Horizon Zero Dawn. If I put that on my PC, I can run that game at 4K native, 60 frames a second with HDR. Whereas at the PlayStation, the PS5 will still run it at a checkerboard at 4K, 30 FPS with HDR. Still looks very good, but I would have the advantage on the PC with that one. So just, because the PlayStation plays that game at medium graphical settings, I could put it in high to ultra graphical settings on PC. So that's pretty much your differences right now, but it's early. Those consoles haven't been tapped yet. So, by 2022, 2023, you're going to have, you've heard the developers say photorealism, and that's true. That is true. The developers are not going to lie. And so that's Remedy has said that. Ubisoft has said that. So it's this, you got, if you listen to the developers, I'm not surprised what the PS5 is doing. It's more powerful than the Xbox. Based on the efficient numbers, the PS5 doesn't bleed as much energy out. It captures more to push into the game, and the games are going to look and run better. It's nothing Xbox can do at this point. So just take the L and enjoy the game.
Yeah, definitely. And I think PC has made me appreciate almost anything that runs at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
1080p 60 frames is, if it comes down to it, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I went out of the way to buy TVs over the years to get this 4K resolution, but my son has gotten to the point where he can spot the difference between 60 frames and 30 frames. And I definitely have an appreciation for 60 frames now. That's no question about that. So I think in the case of my PC, I think 1440 60 seems to be the sweet spot. I can go up to 60 frames per second, but my PC is connected to my TV. And,
okay.
So I'll never get over 60 frames per second because the computer detects that and it won't push it any further than that.
Yep. True.
So, switching gears, we'll talk about the state of the console war.
Yeah.
Wow. The console war. We know that in the case of Xbox versus PlayStation, the console war was basically about who had the better games. And then it evolved to features, and then it evolved to, in my opinion, lies to try to tear down the opponent. And I think the current state of the console war right now, we have gotten to the point where on one particular side, it seems to me like they're telling lies not only to try to tear down the other side, but to see if you're smart enough to catch them in a lie.
Right. Yeah. Well, console war is over, and a lot of those guys have gone radio silent. I mean, they were talking about, somebody was yesterday talking about how Microsoft Flight Sim is coming to the to the Xbox consoles. I'm like, that's a PC game being ported. That's the Flight Sim game is a PC game being ported to your console. So what game is on that console that anybody has to go out and buy the console for? And they don't, that's it. That's the end of your console war, because you don't need their console. So it's a group of people that ran around and look, they're like, it's like talking to Apple fanboys. It's the same. You can go to an Apple fanboy who has an iPhone and say the Android phones are faster. The Android phones hold more data. The Android phones are the dominant group of phones. They have more apps. They have more free apps. And even though all that is true, the iPhone guy will still say, well, I still prefer my iPhone. And that's just, they think the iPhone is better. And that's the way the Xbox fanboys are. They're casual gamers that use their Xbox as a social hub. Like, to me, I don't know why you would activate Disney Plus on your Xbox when your smart TV does the exact same thing. It cancels the other thing out. So, it's not that I have Disney Plus, but it's from my TV. It's not from why would I take up space with an app on my console that's on my TV? But they are I'm going to get off work and I'm going to go home and put on a headset and call in the B2 and get one man army. That's who they are. That's who they are. And it's more for them about, they don't want Sony to have anything that they don't have. Okay. So yeah, the console war. What are they going to do in a couple of months when MLB The Show goes to Xbox? Some of them will actually go and buy it. They'll go buy it. They'll load it. And then they'll say, hey, I don't need a PlayStation for that. That's what they're going to say.
I was just going to say that they'll probably buy it just so they can taunt the PlayStation community.
Yeah, but they won't play. Oh, hey, you got the game. You want to play? Well, no, I'm going to do this raid on Destiny with my friend. I mean, that's what they're going to do. They will not play because it's been shown they don't play games. They don't finish anything. They just want to be able to say, you all don't have something that we have. That's why when the Bethesda studio got purchased, the same people on Monday that said exclusives are anti-consumer literally did tweet saying, nah, it's fine to have exclusives. So it's just their own hypocrisy has been exposed. So, and I get what people want, though. They want them to say, I was wrong, and PlayStation 5 is doing things that I said it couldn't do, but they're never going to say that. That's something from the book of Howard Stern. Howard Stern knew people wanted him to shut up, but he knew he wouldn't, because he wouldn't give them the satisfaction. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the way these guys are. So I see people like, why listen to that podcast? And they said this is like, why are you listening to that podcast? They're liars. So why are you listening to them?
So since you went ahead and called them out and mentioned them directly, I'll go ahead and add to that. We know that the toxic Xbots will never shut up. They will fight to their very last breath. Mm-hmm. I believe that there's a strong possibility that the Series X and the Series S will be Microsoft's last console. Mm-hmm. And I think the purchase of ZeniMax and Bethesda gives credibility to that belief. That being said, if the Series X and Series S is the last Microsoft console and they go completely third party and service based, where do the Xbox go from there in terms of carrying on this console war?
Well, I mean, they don't. And again, Microsoft has already shopped Game Pass to both Nintendo and Sony. It's like public record. So now both Nintendo and Sony said no for now. That's why I keep telling people, just because they said no now doesn't mean that Microsoft is going to go back to them next year at some point and make another offer. And Sony and Nintendo may say no. Then Microsoft's going to go back in 2022 and do the same thing. And eventually, Sony and Nintendo are going to say yes. And I think that will be by 2023, 2024. I mean, again, they've already offered, and so it's early. The fact that they could make the offer means that Sony and Nintendo sat down and talked about it. The fact that Sony said no means they had to take it to their board and to PlayStation, and they voted no. But it's not like they said no, get the hell out of here. We don't want that here. They said no, right now is not a good time. And okay, so Microsoft will come back in a couple months and try again. And I think in Gamepad with Jim Ryan and Herman Holtz wanting to extend the life of the PS4 3 to 4 years, what better way to do that than to put Game Pass on there? And then say, okay, Game Pass will be available on the PS4 consoles for now because we're concentrated on the PS5. But that way, you ain't got to maintain nothing. You just digitally download the PS4, the Xbox games on your PlayStation. So it's that you can already use the PlayStation DualSense and DualShock. Well, I know you can use the DualShock to play, for xCloud. You can already do that. It's just a matter of time before the rest of it comes along. So because Microsoft, their issue was that they could not move consoles. Since they couldn't move consoles, they just said, we're going to put games everywhere. But in order for them to do that, they got to infiltrate Nintendo and Sony. So that's literally what you're seeing. So that's what they want to do. So yeah, it couldn't be their last console. If Phil Spencer sends the design team home, then yeah, but which he hasn't done. He has not sent the console design team home because from what I've been told, Microsoft always wants to be able to come out and say, we have the most powerful console. They always want to be able to say that. So if Sony were to do a PS5 Pro, which I don't think they are, and let's just say they did, and the PS5 Pro was 12.5 T-flops, okay, a variable T-flops or whatever you want to call it, Xbox would make another console and it would be 13.2 T-flops. So they're not going to allow Sony to have the most powerful console. They can't have that. They saw what happened with the Xbox One and the PlayStation being more powerful, and Sony really, stabbed them with that. I mean, they were stabbing them left and right with, well, our games are 1080p and theirs are 918p and 748p and stuff like that. So it is what it is.
Yeah, so, that being said, Microsoft has to know that the Series X is not going to sell anywhere near as good as the PS5.
Right.
So much to the point that I've said this before in the past, before I went, 100% VR, that I believe that Microsoft, because they know that this console is not going to sell very well, that they're going to make it on an as needed basis. They're not going to flood the market with them. I think, just to put it in simple terms, okay, once they, what's the word that I want to use, that once stock drops below a certain point, then they'll just, make a few consoles to bring it back to that equator, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit baffling. I don't know how much they invested in for research and development of this console, but I still find it amazing that they went that far to make a console that they know is not going to sell near as well as the PlayStation.
Well, yeah, their goal, though, is to remember their goal is not to sell their console. Their goal is to sell Game Pass. So so they can say, we manufactured 1 million consoles and we sold them all. And that's great for the shareholders. You go to that share meeting and say, hey, we made 1 million consoles. We sold 1 million.
Oh, you know what? Let me interrupt right there. You know, with the Xbox One X, Microsoft shot their mouth off. Making the selling point of the Xbox One X is that all third-party games were going to look and run better on the One X. And I think they tried to make that same sales pitch with the Series X, but from what I've been hearing on the outside looking in, it sounds like games are looking and running better on the PS5. That being said, it sounds like Microsoft's last card was taken in terms of how they were going to market the Series X. So how do you market a game? How do you market a console that on paper has more power than the competitor, but the results are showing that their console is performing and looking better?
Well, yeah, that's the problem they have now. It's to a point now where if a multi-plat game runs better or looks better on the Xbox, you're going to be surprised because right now they're either parity or they look and run better on the PlayStation. So, well, they were wrong. I mean, a lot of people all they had to do was caveat it and say, well, on paper this is more powerful, but we don't know what the performance is going to be, and they didn't know. And so now that the performances are out, all these multiplats look and run better on the Xbox. The only one that didn't arguably was Cyberpunk. And what they had done is they put a quality mode on the Xbox that ran at 30 FPS. So yeah, it looked better, but they sacrificed frames. Whereas on the PlayStation, it was 60 FPS all the time. So it wasn't the problem with the 60. The problem is with your actual game. But I really don't know why they counted their chickens. There was a class that was counting the chickens before they were hatched. Like my grandmother would say, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. You know, all that food on your plate, you can't finish it. You know, so and that's what a lot of those guys did. But a lot of those guys are now radio silent. They don't say nothing anymore. You know, and they don't. You do not see them tweeting hardly, at least in my timeline. You don't see them hardly tweeting anything anymore.
And I'm glad of that too, because one in particular, who was going out of his way to tell lie after lie after lie after lie, and after he kept getting caught and kept getting cornered in his lies, you know, the defense mechanism was always it's all entertainment. You know, that really didn't go over well with me because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are trying to get information from their favorite YouTubers, people that they feel are knowledgeable. And I don't think that's a good thing, deliberately misleading people and trying to turn everything into a puzzle and see if they can solve it and see if this guy's lying. You're knowledgeable, and if you were to say something, I would say, okay, I think I can roll with something like that. Whereas this other person that I'm referring to, if he says something, you definitely have to do the legwork to go find out if he's lying or not.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And again, it's I think a lot of it got exposed when those guys that were lying got free Xboxes. Okay, so now you see why they were saying what they were saying. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to give me something free, I'm going to shill. That's just the way it is, okay? You know, I'll shill. You know, so, you know, you give me something free, I'll shill. You know, this is kind of the way this, you know, it worked. And so they got free stuff, and people were envious and stuff like that. But the damage control started with the whole tool thing, you know, and they were saying, it's like, okay, if they didn't have the clairvoyance to know about the tools, what makes you think they know about the tools? Why didn't they tell you all in June that the tool set is behind? It's because it wasn't true. Or if they would have said it. They would have said, because it would have been out there, but instead they ran with, no, Sony got taken off guard and things like that. And so it was all lies. But they're exposed now. So people can make up their minds about them all they want to. You know, if you still want to listen to them, listen, but they're lying their asses off. As soon as they open up their mouth, it's a lie.
Yeah, I stopped listening to them a long time ago, but because of YouTube and Twitter, I still couldn't escape the headlines coming up. You know, I still couldn't escape, you know, videos being suggested for me where you could see that the title was a lie. I couldn't escape Twitter where someone would deliberately tell a lie, but because someone that I follow or follows me liked it, it suggested it to me. So I couldn't escape the lies that were being told.
Yeah.
So
no, you can't. I mean, I mute them. I don't block them. I just muted them, and it's kind of like, well, well, according to NX Gamer, this game is 1080p on the Xbox, and it's 1440p on the PlayStation. So moving on. You know, so much for your power narrative. And again, that's what's happened is that they lost. And I remember something one of them said, and they were being honest. They said if Xbox loses the power narrative, then they might as well just go home and close up shop. Well, that's what's happened. They lost the power narrative. So that's why a lot of them you do not see a lot of them. And shout out to J-Dub City, because he's told me, a lot of that stuff is being done just for entertainment. They don't take it seriously. It's just entertainment. So, and shout out to him, because he knows a lot of those guys. And they're just going to say what they need to say to get a rise out of people and to get you to donate. And it works. It works. I mean, shout out. I mean, I'm on the RGT podcast, and we had K Mega on there. Shout out to K Mega, a good dude. I mean, kind of guy that if you come to town and have a couple beers with him, but it's all entertainment. He's going to say this game looks better than that game. He just simply say that's your opinion. That's it. That's the end of it. Well, that's your opinion.
Yeah, if they left it at that, I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
But to go out and to tell deliberate lies in an effort to make the competition look bad, I mean, because they're not telling. I mean, they weren't telling lies to big up the platform that they support. They were telling lies to tear down the other one. So
yeah, they knew it was going to be a disparity. It's over the media. The media,
part of them telling lies were. Part of it was them being salesmen. So, in my opinion, if you're going to be a salesman, tell me why I should buy your product rather than why you shouldn't buy the competitors.
Well, I don't disagree, but again, there's a disparity. There's a disparity between Sony and Microsoft, and everybody sees it. Now, maybe, and let me make this clear. Does this mean, when Fable and Perfect Dark, when all that comes out, 2022, 2023, whatever, Hellblade, hopefully that stuff can come out back to back to back to back to back. And then, but this is the first, and you can say to anybody, the truth is that Microsoft has always had exclusive content for their consoles. This is the first time they launched without any. Even if you didn't like Rise, Son of Rome, that was exclusive to Microsoft. 7 years ago, Rise, Son of Rome, in order to play that, couldn't play that on 360. You had to buy an Xbox One. Elite Dangerous. You had Elite, Frontier Studio, whatever it is, had a 1-year marketing deal with Xbox. If you wanted to play Elite Dangerous, you had to have an Xbox. You go back further, it was the same with Splinter Cell, it was the same with Knights of the Old Republic, Halo, Gears. Now you do not need all those games I named. You don't need an Xbox to play them because they're all on PC. So, and there's just, and the media knows that there's a disparity between the two. So again, honestly, if you had a media-driven company, Lincoln, and Sony is 80% of what's going on, and the rest is split between Nintendo and Microsoft, you can just have maybe 3 people working for you to cover it. And so, and Microsoft's being left out there in the cold. I mean, that's why I disagreed with that girl, Alana Pierce, because I disagree. I didn't tear her down. I did a video called Why I Disagree with Alana Pierce, because I don't think Sony needs Game Pass to sell consoles. Now we're going to find out, because Sony's charging $70 a rip on a lot of these games. Mm-hmm. And that's gonna, now with Trump bucks, it may not matter. But
even if the games are $70,
mm-hmm.
with the Sony exclusive, people still know that they're getting a quality title.
Yeah, and that's what Jim Ryan said. So here's Jim Ryan's deal with the Sony fan base. We'll keep making these games, and they'll be great games because we have great studios and we have great writers and they have great animators, but you're going to have to pay that cost to be the boss. That's just, you're going to have to pay more to enjoy them. So that's the deal Jim Ryan's working with right now. So, people were saying, they just released some, I don't know if you saw that footage of, the Housemarque game that's called Returnal. That it looks really good. I don't know what kind of TV it's on. I assume it's on a Sony 900 series, but that game looks really good. And I'm paying $70 for that game, but we'll just have to wait and see if that barter works for Sony, because they are going to charge. The next Naughty Dog game will be $70. The next Sucker Punch game will be $70. next year, I think EA will raise its game, NFL, the Madden game, that will be $70. Wasn't this year, because of the, because they did give us a free upgrade. The Remedy game, Control, that's, you have to go out and repurchase that again. So
I also think the EA situation, I think it might have been a little bit tough to ask for $70 for the PS5 version of Madden when they got exposed for basically Madden 21 actually being Madden 20, so much to the point where they forgot to erase some of the Madden 20 signs off of the stands.
I did see that article. Yeah, they caught a lot of heat for it too. So but apparently, like you said, the PS5 version of that, and like you said, you saw J-Dub playing, and you were like, wow. So there is a difference there.
It made me feel like wow. Imagine if they actually built a Madden 21 instead of changing the decals on Madden 20 and calling it 21.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there's some different animations there. You just can't lob the ball up to people, and the AI is better. And of course, you can turn that up or down. But they will blitz you when you're not expecting it. I mean, I've played it. I'm like, oh, I did not expect and they disguise the blitz. They put it like that. They disguise the blitz a lot better now because you can always see that they're like, oh, y'all are in man coverage. But there are certain things you can do on your defense. You can drop one cornerback into zone. You can drop him back 5 yards and then have him and make it look like it's, he's going to play zone coverage, and then he'll switch it to man. That's new. Madden didn't, and I don't know if Madden. I don't know if that's a PS5 thing or that's just on Madden 20. But there's a whole lot of things on there I've discovered. I'm like, oh, well, this will help with press. You can have a guy come up to the line and look like they're going to press and then bail. At the last minute. That's like they do in the NFL. You'll see them run up on the player. Look like it's going to be bump and run, and then at the last minute they bail. That makes the receiver change his route. And so in the NFL you would change your route, but in Madden you have to recognize that. And that's one thing they don't have right on the offenses is that to me there should just be automatics. If the cornerback is in press coverage and then he bails, the receiver should run a slant or run a 7-yard hitch, something like that. That should just be automatic. They still haven't figured that out yet because they would probably be like, how does a player know he's going to do that? Well, if the linebacker blitzes and the cornerback bails, you're going to run a slant anyway because that's your open spot. So, But a lot of that they can't anticipate yet. Who knows? Maybe next year it'll be on there. But you're right. As far as the way it looks, it does look a lot better. And shout out to J-Dub because he ain't gonna spare no call. So that something new come out, he gonna go buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely wish I was in his position.
Yeah.
But I got I'll be ready to wind this down here in a second. I've got a couple of more questions, and one of them is a little more serious question. Is a red pill, blue pill question, but it is a situation that has spilled over into gaming, and I'm speaking of effective, I believe, sometime next month, I believe. Twitch will be banning the use of the word simp, virginity. There was a couple of other words that they're banning. And so that has prompted a response from red pillars and blue pillars. I know that you're familiar with the manosphere. So, and what's coming out of the red pill side is that you have the gamer girls over on Twitch also being called Twitch thoughts.
Yeah.
And I guess there's a lot of naive young men donating a lot of money to these women.
That's true.
And they've gotten a lot of backlash for it. They've been called simps and that kind of stuff. And I think it's prompted some of them to not donate money. And in turn, the gamer girls are not pulling in as much money. Therefore, Twitch is not pulling in as much money. So the belief is that by banning the word simp, then these naive young men won't have to worry about, getting roasted for donating money. So,
I didn't know that.
so I thought you were aware of that.
No, I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know
said it right there.
Saying calling people simps.
Yeah, simps, incel, virgin. Those are a few words that's being banned on Twitch.
Oh wow. Well, I understand virgin, but an incel, yeah. I mean, I called somebody an incel this morning on Twitter.
Yeah, but in that situation, incel and simps is shaming language. So a lot of these young men can, they'll be persuaded not to donate money if they're worried about getting shamed. So I think that's the red pillars believe that Twitch is trying to control that atmosphere so they can continue to receive revenue off of the money that these gamer girls make.
Which they don't hardly wear no clothes. That's why the men are watching them. I'm actually like, well, nobody's just sitting there half naked playing the game, and sure enough, there are, and they suck at the game. So they're not gamers. Like, how can you get? I mean, but Twitch is, that's. I didn't know they were doing that. That's what I'm sitting over here like, wow. I honestly didn't know they were doing that. Oh my god.
Yeah, definitely. But as far as the suggestive clothing from female streamers, this actually, the first time I've seen this become a problem was when the PS4 first came out, when they had live from PlayStation allowing people to stream from their homes. Yeah. And simply put, Friday night, a girl who's dressing suggestive and doing some provocative stuff on cameras, they got all the views.
It sounds about right. It's like, that's hilarious. All they have to do is start their OnlyFans page and then stream. That's how you combat it for the women. So, but I didn't know that they were doing that. To me, it's funny. I mean, I'm over here literally just like shaking my head.
I've never been to OnlyFans, but from what the manosphere is what they're speaking of, that it's a pretty competitive market out there. That you can do whatever you want out there, but different than any other thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of girls performing the same act.
The goal of a lot of the women now is to. They want to separate. They want the resources, but they don't want the man. So they have to find ways to separate the men from the resources. So OnlyFans allows that. I mean, you literally. It's a pay. You pay for access, so they can't stop anything. So they'll sit up there and show themselves putting on makeup and be half dressed, and some will be naked. And but again, you're paying for the access. So these women are making. I mean, they reported their income. 800,000, 250,000. Some have made over $1 million. So and again, it's just it is what it is. You make your $1 million, and that woman said she can retire. She's done. She said she structured everything where she gets like two grand a month. And so that's plenty for her. She's like, my house is already paid off, blah, 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 this. But
that's a good thing right there. But wow, but I had heard some stats before that that I guess what I'm trying to say is I hope they're putting that money away.
Yeah.
For the future.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again,
they're going to have a window. They're only going to be able to do this for so long.
Yeah. Well, they all do, because beauty is fleeting. So, but yeah, that's hilarious,
Oh yeah, so that's what we're dealing with. Twitch has banned the use of the word simp.
That's
and
I can't believe it. That's all I can say. I'm tripping. I'm really, that to me is funny. To me, it's funny. So, I didn't realize that language existed on Twitch because I'm not on there. I mean, I'm not even.
But it's out there. Even my son is 14 years old, and he's familiar with the word simp.
Well, I will say this about the manosphere. They've done a good job of filtering their message into the next generation of men. So that's, but yeah, that's I didn't know that. That is funny. I mean, they're calling people simps. So
they are, and I mean, it's a word that gets thrown around quite a bit because even my son he plays VR chat, which is a social app where there's thousands and thousands of worlds and avatars and stuff. And whenever a girl comes onto VR chat and a bunch of guys start crowding around her, they get called a simp. Because one thing about VR is VR kind of mimics real life in the sense that if when a woman walks into an area where it's not common, you get a lot of guys crowding around them. So I've seen situations in VR where there's a lot of guys crowding around women and that kind of stuff, and they some of them get called simps. So that's the case with VR chat. Even my son has explained that to me, that guys get called simps on VR chat and stuff. So yes, that word is definitely widespread.
Yeah, and again, so that this goes to show you that whatever the plan was, it worked. They got. That's how. To me, it's funny. I mean, because I didn't realize that was happening. But wow, yeah, I did not know that they were using the term simp and incel. But again, I said that this morning to somebody after John Favreau was on. Good Morning America was talking about The Mandalorian and the new shows that are going to be coming out in the next 20 months. And all these people that hate Kathleen Kennedy, who's in charge of Star Wars, they were like, y'all just need to fire Kathleen Kennedy. I call that dude an incel. So I'm like, she ain't going nowhere. Those movies have made like $4 billion, and Baby Yoda's the most popular toy in America right now. And we can go on and on and on about it, and Luke Skywalker was trending on Friday for a reason, people, So, but it's hilarious, and so, but I didn't know that. I did not know that. So,
yeah, I definitely thought you were aware of it because it was brought to my attention on a Red Pill video. So I figured if the Red Pillers are getting hold of this, then the gamers already knew about it weeks ago.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I had no idea. Well, again, I'm not on Twitch. And I do know most of the manosphere is not on Twitch because they could not exist on Twitch.
Right.
So that's why, because a couple of them did try to go over to Twitch when all that stuff happened with YouTube. They called it the ad apocalypse and all that stuff. A lot of them try to go to Twitch, and Twitch banned their accounts within 72 hours. And again, I've always said, yeah, you're going to have to find ways around it. And then you figure out, okay, it's mostly a streaming thing anyway. They don't want to, if they want to protect their stuff, they will build websites and just upload their stuff to websites, and they will charge people memberships to access it. That's called entrepreneurship. Yeah, you have these idiots running around saying, "Well, we're not going to pay such and such for your stuff." Well, then don't. That's fine. That's fine. It is what it is. So, but there's Mixler. I've got a Mixler station. I haven't used it at all, but I do have a Mixler station. I am going to upgrade my StreamYards next year, or I may do it next week if I get Trump bucks. I don't know. So they did say that with Trump bucks that you may get it next week. So what to wait and see if I get some Trump bucks.
Absolutely. So I got one more question for you, and it could lead to a request. And it's actually a VR question. I've heard you mention a few times, like I would imagine that you are familiar with the Oculus Quest 2.
Oh yeah. Very
I happen to have one right here.
Oh and,
and I bought 3 of these things.
Oh, sugar-free.
Yeah, and I still have the original Quest right here.
Okay.
But so I bought 3 of them. 2 for me and 1 for my son. And the reason why I bought 2 of them is that one stays attached to my PC because these Oculus Quests pretty much act like a Nintendo Switch, where you can take it with you and game anywhere, but then you can plug it into a PC and play PC games.
Okay.
So, and I think I mentioned. I think you might have mentioned a couple times about being curious about possibly getting an Oculus Quest. Am I correct?
Yeah, they when I tried it on up here at Best Buy, because they at one point they had Oculus up there, they had the PlayStation one up there, and I'm like, I like the Oculus more because when I was in that wreck on the interstate, I can't hold something that can't be on the PlayStation VR is too heavy. It's not that I can't play it, it's just I can't play it, but for maybe 20 minutes, and then my neck will it'll start hurting. It'll just become uncomfortable. So when I try the Oculus one on, I'm like, oh, this is a lot. Then I talked to you about that. I'm like, which one is lighter? You specifically said the Oculus one is lighter. Then I'm and shout out to you. I know you would mention my name when I was talking about the new PlayStation VR, I guess VR 2. It's gonna be lighter. They're making it with less cords, and that's their plan. So if it's wireless, I'm like, I'll be there day one because then I could put it on my head. So yeah, and not have the discomfort, unfortunately. So yeah, definitely still looking to get one. But I don't know. Trump bucks may come in handy. I don't know.
You know what? I can't believe this. This whole time that this podcast has been going on, the microphone is muted on my Yeti, but it's not muted within this Streamlabs. So
yeah.
Okay, but that's good as long as you can still hear me. That's good. But the situation with the Oculus Quest. Well, here's what I think was going to happen. I think that Sony was looking to make PlayStation VR go mainstream on the PS5, and I was hoping that was going to happen because there's still some games that I would like to see happen in VR. The ability to play a game like Madden or MLB The Show in VR, because as far as I'm concerned, the sports titles is all this missing in VR because everything else is there. I mean, there's tidbits of sports games in VRs. There's tidbits of football games, basketball games, hockey games in VR, but I'm hoping for a full-fledged, NBA 2K or Madden in VR, and I was hoping that Sony was going to give us our best chance for that to happen. But I think with the success of the Oculus Quest, with that being a standalone headset, developers are gravitating in that direction towards the Oculus Quest 2. And I think it might have an effect on how Sony is going to price the PlayStation VR 2, because I think that when Sony was looking to make the PlayStation VR 2 go mainstream, there were rumors out there that the headset could cost as little as $250. But because of the Oculus Quest taking over the VR mainstream now, the PlayStation VR 2 is going to remain niche, I have to admit. That being said, I think that Sony might put a little bit better quality into the headset, but I think they're still going to charge anywhere from $400 to $500 for the headset.
I could see that happening. Yeah, I think Sony has done a good job with their VR as far as making it, make people know about it. They now this. It has peeled back a little bit because they're not talking about it this year, like during Christmas time at all. And but I've seen a lot of the Iron Man VRs that's still out. But yeah, I think. Do you think the new one will be $250? So I still think the new one will be $399.
Yeah, I think the new one's going to be $400. But what I'm saying is, if the Oculus Quest had not been as successful as it has been, then I think that the mainstream VR mantle would have been Sony's to lose. But because the Oculus Quest, for those who were on the fence about VR, the Oculus Quest has given them everything that they said that why they wouldn't buy the PlayStation VR. No wires, the ability to take it everywhere, lighter, smaller. So despite the Facebook login, a lot of people are still flocking on board to the Oculus Quest, and I think that might put Sony in a position where they might have to change their pricing strategy in terms of the headset. I think they might have to just come to the conclusion that this thing will remain niche, and niche things tend to be a little bit more expensive. And I think that's what's going to happen with the PlayStation VR 2.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, yeah, to bring down that price a little bit. Yeah, I mean, maybe they could get it at $349. They might be able to do it, or who knows? Well, they won't.
I think that would be a reasonable price, but
yeah.
My big concern is with everybody gravitating, as far as developers, they're gravitating towards the Oculus Quest 2.
Yeah.
Sony might be one of our few hopes of getting quality AAA VR games.
True. No, you're right. And yeah, I need, I'm like I said, I'm looking to either get the Oculus one or Track IR for my flight sims and play Elite Dangerous and Star Citizen. So kind of on the fence with it. But yeah, right now Track IR is in the lead. But that'll be next year. Like I said before, mine is already out of room, and I have no room for any more DCS modules. That tomorrow is going to be free, damn it! So because if I had enough room, I could have it all, for the next 2 weeks and be playing and flying the F5 and the F4, some of the older generational planes, the F86s and stuff like that. So I've got access to the modern stuff, and so I guess I just have to be happy with that for now. Damn it.
I have to say that did you try the VR missions on the Ace Combat 7 at all?
Yeah, I tried them a little bit. Yeah, they were fine.
So what did you think of that experience, being able to take off from the deck of a carrier in VR?
Oh, nice. I mean, doesn't have the feel of the sim, but yeah, that was different. The sound was really good too. You can actually hear the ocean, the waves of the ocean and all that kind of stuff. So no, it was fine. It was fine. I like the combat more. I like being able to look to the left, and you would, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm thinking I don't know what's going to be over there, but yeah, you can see everything. You can see where the planes are turning, and can kind of get a good line of sight on them to be able to turn. But yeah, with Ace Combat, the planes don't turn like that. You would be blacked out, with some of the maneuvers you could pull in Ace Combat. But no, I didn't think there was enough of them. There were only 4 of them, and I think Star Wars Battlefront 2, it had a couple of VR missions, I think.
Yeah, the Ace Combat 7 had 3 VR missions, and people were wanting more, and we didn't get it.
Yeah, we didn't get it. Yeah.
Star Wars Battlefront, the Rogue One mission, that is what you're speaking of. That was on the original Battlefront, not Battlefront 2.
Okay, yeah.
There was supposed to be some VR content on Battlefront 2, but it never materialized. Mm-hmm. But we do have Star Wars Squadrons now, which I have streamed a few times, and hat off to EA. As much as I don't care for them, they gave the VR community something that we have been starving for.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about it. They're actually going to, I believe that's going to be be added to esports. Yeah, EA. That's one reason it was made, is to get it into esports. But yeah, so people need to keep practicing on it, because you can put a team together and go win some money.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've done quite a few streams on that game, and we do have our little bit of an assault team with my friend Hand for the Win over in the UK, and Kevy D over in the UK also. We've gotten together, and we've blown some people to bits.
Yeah. Yeah, looking forward to that. Hopefully they I'll be able to join you guys when I'm able to get into it next year. Hopefully I can jump on with you.
Absolutely. And that being said, I think the Oculus Quest 2 is the best bang for the buck. It's $300, a very affordable headset, and you're getting a Nintendo Switch type device where you can connect it to the PC and play PC VR games. And then when you disconnect it, you can play the standalone games and take it with you wherever you want. So definitely bang for the buck, and definitely hope you'll get on board, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Sounds fun. But y'all can always jump on with DCS with me starting tomorrow. It's free. Just download the F16 module, and it should be free according to just Eagle Dynamics. And maybe but fly around a little bit. Don't have to do no missions. Just fly around.
Okay. I'll definitely keep my eyes open for it. I did download. Well, I have to re-download the game because I bought an external SSD, and I ended up returning it because it wasn't much faster than the hard drives that I already had.
Oh, okay.
But I lost my progress and some of the games I had to re-download them.
Okay.
So that being said, it's near the end of the month. I got to keep an eye on my data cap. And so
understood.
Because I've been doing a lot of streaming, a lot of downloading. So that being said, I don't have much cap left. So I'll have to keep my eyes open over the next couple of days to determine whether I can go back and download DCS because it is 70 gigs.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. I can't remember. I just know I tried to download a new something. What the hell was I downloading? It was like, you don't have enough space. I was like, no! It was like a cartoon or something. So, but shout out to Jemiah Dixon. He did say try to at least get a 500 one because you're gonna run out of space real quick. I'm like, I should be all right. You
will run out of space quick because it's funny that you mentioned that because the reason why I bought that SSD, it was a 500 gig external SSD. The reason why I bought it was for the Medal of Honor game that just came out in VR.
Yeah,
that game is 340 gigs.
Wow. See, I've got two 500 get SSDs, but there's no way to unify the memory. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get a 1 terabyte SSD and see if I can. I'm gonna try to do a swap. I'm just gonna say, okay, if you guys put this 1 terabyte in for me, then take the information that's on the 250, put it into the 1000. I will give you these two 500. I have the Samsung Evos, so I was thinking about giving one away, actually, because, during a giveaway, because I'm going to do a big giveaway stream next week. I'm going to give away 3 movie codes, and then I was going to think, just for for my members, 3 movie codes, and then maybe that SSD. But I'm trying to see if I can get the computer into the shop, and I may see if I can get it there on Saturday, day after Christmas. So, and if I can, I'll be like, hey, look, can you take the SSD that's in there, swap it out with this 500, but I want the information that's on the 250 one to be on this new SSD. I don't want to have to start all over again. That's hell. Trying to remember all your passwords and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I have to wait and see.
Okay. So. Cool. Well, I think we can go ahead and wrap it up right there. We've been on about an hour and a half, and I definitely want to thank you for being here because I took up more of your time than I intended. But I definitely, this is definitely great. The chemistry is still there from Live from Wakanda. Those were some great podcasts that we did together. Yeah. But before we get out of here, I do want to shout out a couple of people in the crowd. Watson's Painting, Impatient Fire. Definitely thanks everybody for tuning in. Sorry I couldn't respond to the comments because I definitely wanted to keep the flow of this podcast going. I didn't want to interrupt it a lot responding to comments. So I was picking and choosing which ones I responded to, but definitely thank you for popping in here. Lastly, before I let you get out of here, I'd like to say that once you pick up another VR headset, I'd like to ask you to come back on my other channel, The Godfather of VR, which is 100% dedicated to VR, and ask you about your experiences with the Quest 2 or whichever VR method you choose to go with after you had some hands-on time.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem. Like I said, it's really coming down to either Track IR or which does the same thing as VR, or I'll do Oculus. So, but yeah, right now Track IR is $200. So, 200 to 220 bucks. So, but again, have to wait and see. Maybe I can get it cheaper. Maybe Trump bucks comes in. I don't know.
You got that right. That can't get here soon enough.
Yeah.
One or the other, a 3070, 3080 or a PS5. That's what I'm going to do with those Trump bucks.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. And, so we'll have to wait and see. But definitely, I'm actually going to pay off the PS5, definitely. And if not, I'll pay it all, in here the next 2 weeks. So shout out to the person that bought it for me. But look forward to the next. I'm hoping to do it either Thursday or whenever Trump Bucks comes in. So
definitely the person that assisted you with that PS5. Shout out to him. He's been a long time supporter of my channel, and we talk on a regular basis. So big shout out to him. He knows who he is.
Yeah. Need more people like that in the community. So
definitely.
So somebody, Impatient Fire said he's waiting to get the 3080. He got the PS5 back. Well, yeah, look, everybody's waiting on the 3000 cards, and I think they're having trouble getting the 6000 cards from AMD. I think those scalpers got them too.
So, but I'm figuring that after Christmas, I'm figuring that a multitude of things is going to happen. The demand may not be as high. It may not be such a sense of urgency for some people. In the case of the PS5, I think supply is going to somewhat catch up with demand. And I think when that happens, some of these scalpers might be sitting on a whole warehouse full of PS5s that they can't get rid of unless they're willing to take a loss. So, so that's about it. I'm just being patient, and because I refuse to deal with these scalpers.
Yeah, me too. It's nuts. So, here's an Oculus S VR headset at Best Buy. Yeah, it's $299. Yep.
Oh, that is the Oculus Rift S. That is a tethered headset. It is not a wireless headset.
Oh, okay.
It is also a headset that is being discontinued.
So you think Oculus Quest 2? That's what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. See, because the Rift S is not. It's a good headset. But being that it's going to be discontinued, if you have a problem, say a year from now, I'm not sure if you'll be able to get it repaired or get it serviced.
Right.
But it is a good headset. It is built. It was built by Lenovo, and I think the Halo design might have actually been licensed over to them from Sony. So I'm not 100% sure about that, but in any case, it is a good headset. But unfortunately, it's being discontinued. For that reason, I'm not sure I could recommend it to you.
Okay. Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Not only that, and it's only a one-sided headset. You can only use it on PC, whereas the Quest 2 costs the same $300, and you can use it on PC or take it with you like a Switch and play the standalone games. So I think the better value is in the Quest 2, and not only that, it has a higher resolution. The Rift S has a resolution of 1440, whereas the Quest 2 has a resolution of, I believe, 1948, which they officially call it near 4K.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's always good to know. That's good to know. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. So whenever you're ready to make that move, definitely keep me informed, and I'll let you know what's going on in that landscape, whether it's a good time to pull the trigger or not, or and so forth.
Definitely. No problem.
That being said, my friend, I want to thank you for popping by. And I want to give everybody the Wakanda Forever, long live the king. And before we sign off out of here, make sure you sub to Craig's channel. A lot of good content. I listen to it all the time from work. Unfortunately, I can't, respond from work, but I'm always there listening.
You always ask, is this Mass Effect? Yeah.
Yeah. So always know that I'm always at work. And that being said, for people who tune into Craig's podcast, sometimes I'll, leave a comment in there, and a lot of the people will say hi to me, and I can't really respond to it because I'm at work. So that's why. So just, that's why sometimes I'll just make a blanket, hey, how's everybody doing from work?
Yeah. Yeah, which is cool. Yeah, and everybody knows you're at work, and I'm appreciate you tuning in and listening, man. No problem, man. Don't be a stranger. You have to jump back on. Like I said, I wasn't going to podcast this week, but all this stuff would happen with Star Wars with all those announcements. I may do something later tonight during the Monday Night Football game. I'm pretty sure the Steelers are going to wallop the Bengals. So,
well, I will definitely be tuning in because I am off this entire week. I plan on doing a lot of streaming myself. Definitely. And I hope we can do this again more sooner than later.
Oh yeah, just let me know. Yeah, I'm all, like I said, the work. I work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but yeah, maybe next week, 28th to 29th. Just let me know. Or are you back at work? You just got this week off. But just let me know. Let me know.
Next week I have the 30th and the 1st off. So if we did the 29th, it would have to be after I get out of work, which would be 2:30 Eastern.
Okay, well, just let me know. Keep me in the loop.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there's going to be more to develop between now and then because this cyberpunk situation seems to be a never-ending saga.
But this is true. You're right about
that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and close shop right there, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tune in to Craig's podcast. Make sure you tune in as I give some more VR content later on today or tomorrow. I think also today, my son wants to stream Pavlov again. So please tune into that and watch an assassin go to work as before. He's really good at the game. And so with that being said, everybody, again, we're going to boogie on out of here. Wakanda forever. Long live the king. From Craig Harris, deuces.
Peace.